All right, everyone. I'm going to be going over the quiz. I'm going to go over it question per question. So the very first one, it says graph 2x squared plus 2y squared equals 32. So if I divide everything by 2, I would have x squared plus y squared equals half of 32, which is 16. Or 16 is the same thing as 4 squared. So your center would be 0, 0, and your radius is square root of 16, which is 4. Okay, the second one, it's asking in a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. So I'm going to draw that out. Here's 30, 60, and 90. It says the ratio of the hypotenuse to the shorter side is, well, first off, look, what this is half the size of my hypotenuse, and my medium leg is my short dude times the square root of 3. So with that said, the ratio of the hypotenuse to the length of the shorter side is, well, this is twice the size, so this is 2 to 1. Or the shorter side to the hypotenuse is 1 to 2. So it's asking the ratio of your hypotenuse to your shorter side, which is 2 to 1. It's twice the size of it. And let me look on this to see if there's any more 30, 60. All right, I'm going to go down to number 7 now since I'm talking about 30, 60, 90 degree triangles. So on your quiz, if you look at number 7, it says, which of the following sides cannot be the length of a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle? So the sides that cannot be the length of a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle, what you would do is you would pull up each one of those. You would draw those out to get each one. And on number 7, the only one that doesn't make sense is letter choice D. The reason why letter choice D does not make sense would be this. If this is 5, this is 10, this is 10 root 3, which doesn't make sense. This would have to be 5 root 3. That's why D doesn't make sense. All the other ones do make sense. Going down, and let me see if there are any more 30, 60, 90 degree triangles that I'm going to talk to you about. Nope. All right. So that was number 7 that I just went over. So I went over 2 and 7. So for number 3, it says the legs of a right triangle have the 2 legs of a right triangle. All right. So since it's a right triangle for number 3, the 2 legs are 15 and 8. And it says the measure of the smaller acute angle. Okay, so remember with when you were studying triangles in IM1, the smaller angle is across from the smaller side. So this is your smaller angle right here, not this one. So from this angle, it would be opposite and adjacent. So it would be inverse tangent opposite over adjacent. That's going to tell you inverse tangent, which is tangent to the negative first. Whenever you always use inverse whenever you're trying to find an angle. Now on this review, I'm not going to be doing I'm not going to be going over the calculations. I'm going to have to be plugging this into my calculator. I'm just showing you how you do it because I don't want to take a lot of time with every single question because it would there's no point because you have a calculator. You can do all the math yourself. I'm just showing you how it's set up. Okay, that was number 3. All right, for number 4. Find all the zeros of the polynomial function. Okay, so look. This is what you're going to do for number 4. Notice how letter choice A, B, C, and D all has a negative 3 as one of the zeros. And then they give you a polynomial of 1x to the third. So I'm going to use synthetic division. 1x to the third minus 5x squared minus 4x plus 60. Now this isn't going to have a remainder because this is going to go into this evenly. All right, so what I'm going to do is this. Bring down your first term. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. This is going to give me negative 8. Negative 3 times negative 8 is positive 24. 24 and a 4 is going to give me 20. Negative 3 times 20 is negative 60, which gives me a remainder of 0. So we started off with x to the third. This is going to be 1x squared minus 8x plus 20. All right, and then what you would do is you would set this equal to 0 to solve for your other x. Now with this, you can't factor it. There's no two numbers that multiply together to get a positive 20, add together to give you negative 8. So it's going to be imaginary numbers. You'd use a quadratic equation to solve for your other two solutions. Okay, now for number 5. Number 5 was when you had to complete the square twice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my x's together. So I have x squared minus 4x. I'm going to put a blank little space, and then I'm going to do my y. Y squared minus 8y, put a blank, and then I'm going to move that negative 5 to the other side. All right, I'm going to complete the square. Take half of this, which is negative 2, square it, which is positive 4. Add this to both sides, and now I'm going to factor this. This is going to give me x minus 2 squared plus half of negative 8 is negative 4 squared, which is 16. Put 16 here and 16 here, and then factor this. Y minus 4 squared equals 16 plus 4 and 5 is 25. So now you know your center is 2, 4, and your radius is the square root of 25. Square root of 25, not 5, square root of 25. Okay, number 6 is done the exact same way as number 5, except it's given to you in a different form, but you're going to solve it the exact same way that you would do for number 5. It's just rewriting it in a different form. We went over number 7. Number 8. Number 8. All right. So it's either a growth or decay. Number 8, assume a piece of equipment costs $85,000 to start off and depreciates 15% every year. So that means each year it's only worth 85% of the amount of money that you bought it each year. And you have to find your value after 10 years. Okay, for number 9, it's going to be inverse tangent because you're trying to find the angle. Inverse tangent 1.23. That's just what you're plugging into your calculator. Okay, for number 10, it shows you that you're going to have a right triangle, and it says the angle C is 90 degrees. Let's say A, B, C. And it says that angle A is 20 degrees, and it says CB is 20. Okay, now you have to find everything else. What I would do is, probably the easiest one is, let's find this side. So you could say tangent 20 equals opposite over adjacent. That would be the first way to solve for this, and then you can use Pythagorean theorem to find this side. Because you know that this side is 70 degrees. That angle is 70 degrees. Okay, for number 11, what's the y-intercept? Well, remember when you're trying to find the y-intercept for anything. To find the y-intercept, you plug a 0 in for your x. So if you have y equals -3 times 7 to the 0th power. That's how you find your y-intercept. You're always plugging a 0 in for your x. Anything to the 0th power is 1, so your y-intercept is -3. For number 12, it gives you the formula, and then it says, what is your projected annual percent of growth for number 12? Notice how your growth factor for number 12 is 1.13. That means it's 113% every year. Your growth factor is 13%. And then you plug in the years from 97 to 2002 to figure out how much it would be worth. For number 13, the radius is 6, which is the square root of 36, which is d. Now for number 14, easiest way I think to do number 14 is to move that 3 over. So you have y equals x plus 4 squared. Moving that 3 over gives you a a vertex of -4, -3, and your a is equal to 1, which is your shape. Number 15. Okay, for number 15, they give you your opposite side, which is 5. They give you your hypotenuse, which is 15, and sine is opposite over hypotenuse, and it's always the inverse whenever you're trying to find an angle. Okay, for number 16, they want to know the ratio in a 45, 45, 90 degree triangle. Remember in a 45, 45, 90, let's just take, for example, let's say this is 5, this is 5, this would be 5 root 2. X root 2. They want to know the ratio of the hypotenuse over one of the sides. Well, this is the ratio canceled out, which is root 2 over 1, or root 2 to 1. Okay, for number 17, an equilateral triangle. Remember, an equilateral triangle, whenever they have an altitude, you should remember that this is actually a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. Now they're telling you each side of the equilateral triangle is 10, 10. So remember, they want to find your altitude, which is this. So you don't really need this side right here. Now watch, 30, 60, 90. Your hypotenuse is twice the size of your short leg. Your medium leg is your short leg times root 3. There it is, 5 root 3. For number 18, watch what happens for b. Because I have to get y all by itself. It's not an equation of a quadratic unless y is all by itself. Watch what happens when I divide both sides by -12. I'm going to get y equals -1/12 x squared. This is a quadratic because it's x squared. The shape is a negative, and it's in between. It's a negative fraction that's in between 0 and 1, or 0 and -1. So that means it's going to be much wider, which is the shape, which is the graph. Okay. Now for number 19. If you invest $250 into an account with a 9% interest, $250, and you're getting 1.09 every year, 109% of the previous year. Here's your equation. Now what people will do is they'll do 250 times 1.09 raised to the 15th, and that is incorrect. Because remember, basic order of operations, exponents comes before multiplication. So you do the exponent before you multiply that times 250. For number 20, it gives you the formula, and you're just plugging in 9 for your t. So for number 20, how much bacteria will be present after 9 years? Or 9 hours? 4,000 times 2 raised to the 9th power first. That answer times 4,000.